Well, I want to make the point, and we may even use this as a cold open because I think this would be quite a fun one.
We're recording
Calvin,
now.
I just record as soon as we start, and then I just cut all the irrelevant stuff out.
Fair.
I just try and pick a nice point where I think a cold open could
Warm
insert in.
open now, innit?
Bit of a warm open now, indeed. Calvin Cater, Brian Ortega, and Tom Aspinall. Which of these things is not like the other? I don't mean the weight class. I mean that all three of their last fights have ended very unfortunately in them getting an injury within the first round. Which of these is not like the other?
I view all of them in different regards, but I'd say the one that is least likely to impact his immediate future, and I hope the one that's going to bounce back the soonest, although not a doctor, not his doctor, and I haven't seen the medical reports on it. I say Calvin Cater is the one that stands out to me because it's a bit of a freaky one, but I think it's one that hopefully he could pop back. When knee injuries are quite bad and you can't stand on them, rule of thumb, very, very, very bad rule of thumb, but rule of thumb is that those are the ones that can be a little quicker to heal, generally speaking. It's the ones where they pop and you can keep going and you keep moving on about it, but those are like the severe to partial ACL, MCL, PCL tears. Those are the surgically repaired ones. Calvin's might be a 6-week rehab, trained sensibly back in, before the summertime. That's actually given his run of form, being patient, playing the waiting game, filling in, or picking up a big name guy coming off a close loss could be a fantastic way to put himself back in there, because the Giga Chikadze fight's gonna be in people's memories. They're not really going to be digging deep on that one. Arnold Allen one doesn't go down without an asterisk. It's just fucking fickle sport the way fans are. So I would say Calvin Cater stands out. Who do you?
So that's actually not the direction I was going in, but the answer was still Calvin Cater. But here's my logic. The big difference between him and the other two freak injuries, in my opinion, is that I feel that he has the most amount of responsibility over the injury himself. And what I mean by that is that Brian Ortega is doing nothing weird or unexpected or nothing more than what you should do to get out of the situation he was in, and the shoulder pops out. It's extremely unfortunate.
Tom Aspinall, yeah, but we're going off what we see here. We don't know what happened in training and what fights they endure through, what fights they keep quiet. And in much the same way that, we had a difference of opinion over TJ Dillashaw, the reality is that all fighters do this to some regard with all manner of injuries.
True, but what I'd say is if you look at it, and the kind of point I'm trying to make is I feel that there shouldn't be as big of an asterisk over Arnold Allen's win here as there is over Yair Rodriguez's and Curtis Blades' wins. And the reason is not just because he looked as good as he did for that first round and obviously up until the injury happened, but it was because of his movement that it forced Calvin Cater to, really, really poor thought process here, but trying to change the direction of the knee after he's jumped that leads to him landing on it. See, I don't think this is a training thing. I think this is just like he landed on it funny. He jarred it at an angle. I think you're right. I think it's probably like maybe an MCL or something like that. I remember doing a really similar thing.
I'm hoping even less. I think maybe, maybe just a bad sprain. Maybe just a bit of a tweak on the patella. It's very hard to tell because of the way it landed. It didn't look like super twisted, just a bit of a torque on it. Who knows? But honestly, looking at the timing of it, it's one of those things where you think Arnold Allen is a guy that has great head movement up until he mentally switches off a little bit. And when he's having a bit of success, he's tagged me a few times, he's getting a little overconfident. The last sort of 15 seconds of the fight, it's not the worst time in the world to take a big risk. You never know. Land something big, potentially steal the round, but put a statement on the round, make that round a little closer for the judges.
I get what you're saying. I just feel like, he did the most amount in terms of like putting himself in a position where an injury could have happened compared to like there's nothing that you can look at Tom Aspinall's the way his knee blew out and go, oh mate, you really shouldn't have stepped back on it that way. It was just complete. The guy wasn't doing anything wrong. Same with Ortega. You
Yeah,
shouldn't
have you
say,
tried not having knees? I don't know why they all lean on his knees so heavy. Heinz Ward barely had knees. Although that's a freak.
okay, well, knees aside, the point
Again,
is
not a
that
doctor. Not a doctor, I'll say that much. I
Calvin
know what you're
Cater
saying,
was
Matt.
it was dumb. It was a dumb thing to do, and I know it happens, but it was just like I can't. And it's a shame because I got to be honest. I think Arnold Allen had
Hey,
that one, mate.
it's a bad risk unless it pays off, all right? And it's slightly different vein. And it's one I think it haunts me at least every other night. You know, Yair Rodriguez knocking out the Korean zombie final seconds of the 5th round of a fight he had definitely lost. Where did that elbow come from? And
Well,
that was
that's a
just
different thing, but
praying to
that's
the elbow gods. You say it's technique. It was a very nice flush chin. But when your head's that fucking down and you try to read a man off his hips and footwork alone, you don't know the chin's going to be there per se. Very hard one at time. It's went for and got. Sometimes you
okay.
throw some stupid shit at the end of the round, pays off. If you're Fabricio Verdum, you throw some stupid shit at the start of the round. Sometimes it pays off. Right? I think that being predictable in MMA is one of the cardinal sins of the sport.
This
And
isn't being
even though
predictable.
he
This is
fucked his
not landing
knee,
badly on your knee from trying to fucking
oh yeah,
mid
I'll
jump
say this right.
changer.
Same as playing football. Whether you're right foot, your left foot, strong foot doesn't matter, right? You don't play across your body, but you don't have to. You take the easy tap in, take the easy shot, play the high percentage football. All right, when it's that kind of moment where you're in front of goal and it's and the worst case scenario, you're putting it flashing across goal to the far post. You don't snatch across your body in a crazy way. All right, you take the easy near foot. That's the smart footage, right? Like he had his left knee there. He decided he was going to get some crazy power on his right foot as Arnold Allen, who had been circling away from the power hand the whole round, was going to magically take some stupid step left because the guy might switch off, but he doesn't make those kind of mistakes. He has holes in his game, but they're small fucking holes and they're closing all the time. I would have thought, not even faking like the double knee, but just going left knee, or maybe even trying to get some kind of clinch as the knee's coming up and just cracking him in the ribs, would have made a much smarter approach as you throw in the kitchen sink at the very end of the round. That is what I would have liked to have seen. That being said, doing some stupid shit at the end of the round I can get behind. I just think there are smarter ways to do stupid shit. That might make me sound like an idiot. I don't give a fuck. Leave some comments. You know, you guys don't leave enough comments. You know,
We do
we
need
say a
more
lot of
comments.
stupid shit you be calling us out on. And you
To
were
be
like,
fair,
comments. Who needs them? We need them. We
to be
need them.
fair, Josh. To be fair, considering that the sound has not been good for the last 2 weeks, we shouldn't be criticizing our fans. We should just be thanking people for sticking with it. And as you may tell, as I welcome you again to the Loose MMA Split podcast, the loosest MMA podcast on YouTube, we are back on Zoom in an attempt to try and temporarily fix these audio issues. It is a short-term venture, but we want to still be delivering as good a product as possible. I kind of like the audio only, to be honest. It's we're not the best. I'm not the best face to look at. So you know, you get to look at our thumbnail that we've
That's
created
not
for
how
this episode
faces work.
instead.
We have faces. We should be putting faces out there. I was supposed to be putting this on a lot of other platforms, and Spotify gave me some chip, and I pulled out of that one pretty quick. Not gonna lie, guys. One of the big reasons been a little lackluster the last couple of weeks. Been having to deal not only with some mental health issues, but also some not getting paid properly by work issues. On top of that, my PC shit the bed, which is why we've had to skip over to audio only. It's been a very trying time. We will get through it, and most importantly of all, I am signed off work for the short term. I think it's important to do positive things with that time off. So I am going to be watching every single MMA related thing out there. We've got some Cage Warriors, we've got some PFL, we've got a lot of good shit coming. We've got the Bellator Rise. I'm sure I'm going to be back at work by then, but Bellator Rising, New Year's Eve. There's a lot of good shit to be excited about. I'm ready to take some steps up with the podcast. I know you are, Matt.
Well, you
How
sound.
loose are we getting? Do you want to talk some NFL? Do you want to jump straight into Vegas 64? Do you want to do some more Cater, Alan? Because I've got some thoughts on what Alan should be doing next.
We can definitely touch on all of that. This is the Loose MMA podcast. There's no real structure. We will talk about UFC Vegas 64. We will talk about our picks. We'll catch everybody up on how we're doing so far on the tally after
Oh,
3 weeks.
yeah, no, I only wrote down half my picks, and again, unless you know what my picks were in the prelims, I can only give you estimate.
You're talking about the Allen card, or are you talking about UFC Vegas 64?
I'm talking about Alan, UFC Vegas 64, and have we not made one other pick?
We still haven't gone over the Arnold Allen card. I know what the results are.
So I know I got Alan right, Griffin right, Jacoby. I'm not gonna say I was robbed. Close fight. I can live with that. I thought Jacoby did win.
I thought Jacoby won.
Cortez Acosta, Joshua Friend. My namesake, shit the bed hard. Fuck him. Hergerio de Lima did not at this point. Chase Hooper, somehow, some ways, the only fight I haven't seen yet. Bit frustrated, but Christian Rodriguez got the nod on that one. Iron Title, I know I got that one over you because you are a dummy and I have no faith. We both got Megatron wrong, I believe.
Correct.
If not, I'm eating some shit there.
No, you're right.
I know you had Weems over me. I think you had Motter over me as well, right?
Yep. So I believe
You come out of that one with a 2-point lead. Have I got that right?
A 2 point lead. No, I believe a 1 point lead. Because I. Oh, no. It's two. It's two. You're right. You're right. Because we both got.
I think you had Weeds, Motter, Frems, and I had the Iron Title. So I pulled one back to keep it to a 2-point lead. And I think, if I'm right,
sorry,
you were on
no.
a 1-point lead the week before.
No, I had Fremd along with you. It's a 1 point lead.
Oh.
So I carry and I carry.
I don't know if these numbers I've written down. Here's the problem with not sleeping and prescription medicine is I have left my notes in a variety of numbers, maths, and in some sense shorthands, which look like, do you know what I mean? They wouldn't be out of place on a Elon Musk family passport. Yeah, this is a mess. I've got time now to do the fucking thing proper. More importantly, I've written my picks for this week out ahead of time with real letters and real words, real names.
Through all of that juggling, what I can confirm is after 2 weeks, after the Arnold Allen card, I have a 2-fight lead over you going into UFC Vegas 64. I won the first week. I got a point ahead on the second week. Third week, we had a 2-fight difference. No spoilers, but we went 500 on those. So I'm still 2 points ahead, although we did tie this week. And seeing as that's pretty much, you said you got some more stuff you wanted to talk about with Arnold Allen. Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, obviously Volkanovski is going to be taking the next title shot at 155. No complaints. Arnold Allen knew that he was going to have to make a big statement win to get a title shot. I think he sees this the right way. I love this guy's attitude. I remember when he was getting on the mic with Dan Hardy. How do I make these people like me or love me as much as they love you, Dan? And the truth is, like, he never had to worry about it. He's just got to keep being him. Fucking love the way this guy fights. There are good fights available. And I don't want to say they're winnable fights, but if you're going to beat Volkanovski, then you need to be putting away the likes of Yair Rodriguez or Max Holloway or Josh Emmett. I think interim title shot. No one else is fucking calling for it. Let's fucking do it.
Well, also, I think there's an advantage that he's got because Josh Emmett, you've got this like triangle at the top between Arnold Allen, Josh Emmett, and Yair Rodriguez. And there's only one of those guys that's kind of really put his name forward and said he's happy to have an interim title shot. You've had Josh Emmett, who's kind of just going, "Oh, I shouldn't have to fight an interim. I should have already deserved it."
Yeah.
You've got Yair Rodriguez saying, "I was promised
We
it."
don't want to paint him as being entitled, okay? As with Arnold Allen, he has put the work in.
He's knocked out. He's finished. I know it's under questionable circumstances, but again, go back to our cold to lukewarm open. I kind of feel like he forced that injury from Cater because he was doing so well in that first round. Like Arnold Allen's beating legit guys now, and he does his business. He's good everywhere. He's got a terrific frame for featherweight.
Yep.
Long,
Emmett's a bad
tall,
matchup for him as
strong.
well. Let's put that out there.
Yeah. But all I'm saying is that with those three
Emmett's
guys,
a guy that's going to lose all 5 rounds, but at any point can just fucking change the fight
100%.
and
But
can wrestle when necessary in a way that Arnold Allen. It'd be interesting to see how he deals with that.
well, all I'm saying though, in terms of getting the opportunity, out of the three guys in contention for that interim shot, Arnold Allen is going to be the easiest person to get to the table and be amicable. It's going to be the other two.
Yeah,
And so
for
that
sure.
makes me feel like he's the most likely one to get a seat there. And it's not like, listen, I love Josh Emmett, but it's not like the UFC are going to sit down and go, man, we want to give it to this Allen kid, but the fans really want to see Josh Emmett get the strap.
Well, you know who's a bigger fan favorite than Josh Emmett?
Who?
Assuming he wins, Bryce Mitchell. And you
Well,
know who, again, not painting people as entitled, but if you think about fighters that have a long story career of pissing off Dana White, Yair Rodriguez is not on Santa's nice list. He's very much on Santa's naughty list. I could see Arnold Allen, Bryce Mitchell being a fun little interim title shot.
Mitchell
Terrible
needs
matchup for both on paper, truth be told. Be a
Mitchell needs
very
more
fun
wins.
fight, I think.
Mitchell needs more
He
wins, man.
does.
He's
He
not there
does,
yet.
but
I love Mitchell, but he's not there yet.
does Yair Rodriguez agree to a fight with Arnold Allen on anything less than his own terms? Does
I don't
Dana
know.
White go for that? It's a question mark for me. Josh
Well,
Emmett, who knows? He's not gonna sell a co-main on a pay-per-view like Arnold Allen, Bryce Mitchell would. And if they do it in Europe, Jesus Christ.
I I don't disagree with you. What I do want to do though is I want you to put that question to one side until we get more answers. And let's get on to talking some slightly more recent UFC events. Let's talk some UFC 64. Amanda Lemos, Marina Rodriguez, whose name I say differently pretty much every time I pronounce it. I either get half of it right or all of it wrong, it seems. We were wrong on this one. Before we talk about that, I didn't say this before, but guys, like the video, subscribe if you're not subscribed, comment, all of that jazz. Let us know if you're enjoying the looser format. If you would like us to maybe be a little less drunk and stoned, also let us know as well. But it's a lot more fun for us to do it this way, so please tell us to keep it loose because it makes it a lot more fun to record. And
Yeah,
obviously,
my defense, I'm not drunk. It's just Valium and weed today. And
fair
some of that was prescribed by a doctor. So
yeah, and I'm not drunk because I'm a big drinker. I actually only drink when we do this podcast, which means that I get drunk very quickly.
well, I think
So
we should be drinking more because I audio issues and video issues aside, I think this is some of our best stuff.
yeah,
More
well,
importantly, we are working very very hard on getting a third person in, but they did boil it today, which I'm going to put into the test. If you've listened to this far, trialist, and you feel bad and you want to apologize for putting it out last second, I'll consider a second trial. Otherwise, I think trialist shit the bed and we move on to the. We don't have another trialist ready. But again, guys, put these fucking comments in because we are open for business.
We're on to
Now,
the third.
yeah, and as a trialist, you don't necessarily need to like and subscribe. You do need to put some fucking comments in for real. So
And
I go
picks,
with and picks.
but not
Well,
on this
actually,
video,
if
on
you're
our
a
picks video.
trialist, yeah. I think like as a test to be getting in, like if you want to be a trialist, you can just come make the picks on the show. We're all good with that. So I've been going with Mahina Rodriguez because my Brazilian buddy told me that it's like the H's most of the time, but not all the time. But if it's like a Portuguese surname, you don't fuck with that. It's just the R's. So I believe it's Mahina Rodriguez. You know the babel fish in Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy? I think
Yes.
Valium is the opposite of that.
Well,
Against Amanda Lemos. This was a fun fight. What killed me though is Mahina's movement from the get go. I don't know if she's been like working with some sloppy sparring partners or what, but she wasn't moving all the way in, all the way out. The footwork and the head movement wasn't perfectly in sync. It's like she was waiting for big, lazy, clippy hook shots to be coming in. It was just going to very slowly be away from to then hit her with like, the 3-4, 3-3-5. Like just keep trying to brutalize Lemos like she was going to get caught napping. And Lemos came in very light, very fast, just very
Lemos,
fucking dangerous. This is
well,
not the Mahina I am used to. Still a good fight, not shitting on
well,
her. I'm just saying. I don't know where she went wrong here. She just didn't look game ready. Is it sloppy sparring partners? Is it a bad camp? Did Lemos? No, Lemos did take a step up. Lemos definitely took a step up, but Mahina just did not look as ready as I've seen her before.
no, I agree with you. I agree with you. So here's the thing. We knew and we talked about this that Lemos is more explosive, particularly in those early rounds. We also spoke about the fact that Mahina obviously quite often will not start brilliantly. She can be a slow starter. And for the first round, I kind of felt like it looked a lot like the Yao Jianan fight, where it just looks like she's a pace off. She's not quite at the mark. But the difference is in that fight, she was able to take over second half. So even like halfway through the second round, I still was thinking like kind of stupidly, she's getting her read, she'll get the timing and all the rest. And really looking back on it now, I think the speed was a factor. I think Lemos looked a lot faster, really tight, had good head movement, body movement, was pulling back, doing the pullback counters a lot. And it kind of felt like Marina was just a step behind everywhere. It felt like she was reaching a lot on her punches, never
Well,
really at the
Lemos
distance
wasn't
she wanted to
reacting.
be.
Lemos was dictating. The combos dictated where the footwork and the head movement was going to end. Everything was very high percentage, just very smart. Not even just like fundamental, just like this is how you execute a good professional aggressive game plan. And Mahina, like she couldn't just live in the pocket and react to it. She had it in her head that she was going to slip this way, duck here, weave to the right, and she was just getting caught. She was getting tagged. She had her hips basically leaning over Lemos's like at times, just like a complete amateur. It was. I feel like I'm shitting on a star because I'm such a big fan. I'm just very disappointed, Matt.
Listen, I think even on Mahina's best day, I think the explosiveness and speed of Lamos, particularly because she throws a lot of those punches and combos and kicks really tight. There's not a lot of wind up. It's technically pretty damn good. It's always going to be a difficulty, and I think maybe she was just trying to get the reads. Maybe she wanted her to kind of like get some air out of the tires a little bit, let Lemos kind of lose some of that explosiveness early on, and maybe then be a little more aggressive. And that's the thing. Coming into the third round, I did kind of think like, okay, this is the moment where we're going to see Lemos becoming a little bit less dangerous with that power, and that's exactly when she knocks her out. But It's I do wonder whether or not, because Reina's fighting down the rankings, kind of felt like she deserved a title shot already. I don't know. It just kind of feels like it felt a little bit like a Dan Hooker performance against Arnold Allen. It felt a bit like when Jacare fought Hermanson. And it's like you have this, person that kind of feels like they should have already been fighting for the belt. They get told, listen, just do this fight. And they kind of accept it. But it's with this kind of like, all right, I'll do this for you. And then I'm guaranteed my title shot. And maybe she did just show up thinking I'm a better striker. I don't need to worry about this girl. Struggled with Angela Hill. Got beaten by Andrade.
Maybe we see a different approach when fighters are getting paid to the extent that waiting for a title shot is the financially responsible situation. And because even when you're not in camp, you're still training, there's still medical costs, there's still training fees, gym fees. The cost of being a professional fighter is going up and up and up and up and up. And if you think our inflation and our cost of living got crazy, try doing that without all the appropriate insurances in place, being in a high injury risk profession and kind of being forced into a position because you got a shitty fucking contract. If you don't fight X amount of times a year and you don't take shitty fights you don't want to take, maybe you don't fight that year. Can you fork out 200 grand a year if you made zero? Like shit, I couldn't.
No, I understand what you're saying. The only thing I would say in Mahina's position, I don't think. Yeah, it's a weird one. She didn't fight that long ago. They've got the title fight coming up this weekend in that division. And spoiler alert for our picture that will be dropping shortly after this podcast drops. I don't think that fight's going to be close. Let's just say I think the winner of that fight is going to be fresh to defend the belt. In a reasonably short amount of time after November 12th. But this whether
It's
you
not
when you
guaranteed
take
though. There are other women in the conversation.
that's true.
It's a prickly pear to peel.
Well,
It's a tough
what
one, and frankly, if you have every intention of being the very fucking best, you need to fight everybody. And of all people, I'm going to be quoting right now. I cannot believe I'm quoting this dickhead. But Brendan Schaub said, I want to fucking fight. Oh, dude, the fucking Hawaiian dude, married to Ronda Rousey.
Oh
Help
God,
me
what's
out
his
here.
name?
UFC heavyweight,
Travis
decent
Brown.
fighter. Travis Brown. Brendan Schaub was like, we need to fight Travis Brown now because I don't want to fight him later. There's a huge psychological advantage to having wins over people. Awful comparison, I suppose. Carla Esparza had that early win over Rose Namajunas. We all saw how that shit played out.
Yeah. Well,
I
we'll be
can't,
talking about
I
that on the pick
can't
show.
wait to do the
Oh,
picture.
mate, the picture is going to be because also you and me are going to disagree big time on I think at least
Yeah,
two of these
I'm gonna
on the
catch
picks.
up on Esparza. I know that. You following Jang,
Well,
you fucking deluded fool.
getting back to UFC
Picture will be fun.
Vegas, getting back to Vegas 64. Sometimes people catch you by surprise. Lemos shouldn't have been a surprise, and whatever circumstance you take the fight under, she took the fight. She should have been prepared for it. She had a bad night, and it happens. The problem is though, when you have a bad night against number 7, number 8, whatever Lemos was ranked before Saturday night, and you're number 1, that loss sets you back a lot further than if you lost to number 2 or number 3. That's kind of the irony of this, is that she's further back now than she would have been if she'd lost to Jan earlier in the year instead of beating her. Isn't that a crazy thought?
Ish. I think since the ESPN deal, well, let's be real. Rankings made less and less and less sense as they went on. Dominant champions were fighting the number 10, number 9, the 11 ranked, fighter because they'd already beaten everybody else. Fighters were coming in from other organizations, losing fights, then putting one or two wins together and getting a championship fight because why the fuck not? This week we got Alex Pereira against Israel Adesanya. Good fight. I'm just saying, they force shit because they have to. It's all about what was that line you said about NFL players? It's not productivity, it's availability, something along those lines.
Oh, the best ability is availability.
Best ability is availability. That is what the UFC has quickly become. It's not the best for hardcore fans. I can see how this creates great appeal for casual fans. It's going to get more people into it. I think ultimately it's going to lead to more money in the sport, which ultimately should lead to more money for coaches, trainers, gyms, and most crucially of all, fighters. So it's not an awful thing. I'm okay with it. We're kind of at a weird impasse where we have fights we don't necessarily want to see as much. We have um, high turnover in fighter rosters. We have fighters not getting paid enough, but ultimately, we get to see some busy shit. Kayla Harrison's coming out complaining PFL's a grind. It's like, you know what? You ain't got to be the biggest fighter in the world. You can across a few seasons there, you can make close enough to 5 grand with all the extra fights you win, depending on your contract. That's not a bad life, for people that were used to fighting in car parks when they got started in this thing. I think it's all good. I forget my point. But
Well, we kind of veered off
goddamn
there a little bit.
doctors and their prescription drugs.
It's all right. I'm going to look forward to these sort of interesting segues. It's almost going to feel like a Shakespeare soliloquy told from a
We're on a
perspective of a
45
Valiant
minute
Duchess.
limit for this, right?
We are not. No,
Oh,
we're
thank
almost.
God. This is
We
going to be
got.
worse than that time. I forgot we were filming and I'd done like a brownie or several brownies, and
I don't
that
know.
was a
This is
bad
going to
day.
be. I may even try and change the image on the from the thumbnail when I'm editing this. Whenever you sort of go on one of your rambles, to just sort of, I don't know, like a clip of like a still image of like Macbeth or something like that doing a soliloquy on stage.
Do the old Kenny Powers tapping his nose. I was in rehab. I injured my nose. Always loved that. He's banning
That's,
down my fucking shit. You've been
that's a good
watching
man.
Righteous Gemstones.
I have
Um,
not. No.
Going off piste again. We'll catch that up later.
We'll talk about Righteous Gemstones later, but I'm always up for a good suggestion of something to watch, particularly after I've finished Berserk, which is very sad and tragic. But that is not to discussed. We'll move away from this main event. Let's. We're not going to go through it fight by fight because this is the loose MMA podcast, but let's talk about our co-main event because D-Rod versus Neil Magny was a fucking good fight. I was quite proud of this one because even though we got the main event horrifically wrong, we kind of went as we thought this was going to go. Early adversity, and then he manages to turn it around, use his experience, and I mean that Darce choke was in for 10 seconds. You knew that fight was over before the tap happened.
When you describe someone as being able to use their frame well, looking in Darce chokes like that, it just makes me feel like a smart individual for correctly analyzing that Neil Magny is a tall man with a long torso and long limbs and long legs. Jeez Louise. There were earlier moments as well, when he had him in the clinch, that beautiful elbow he landed, the way that he was able to constantly lean, maneuver, even, like sacrificing underhooks for overhooks, he was still able to do things. He's so fucking awkward. I love watching this guy make good technique count for fuck all in key moments in MMA.
Yeah, but he had to survive some tough moments, man. D-Rod, he's dangerous. He's tough.
He's a fucking monster.
As soon as he made that decision in the second round, where I'm just going to go forward and eat punches to land something harder, you could see it really disturb Magny. I mean, it took him to that third round to kind of really start adjusting and getting back to what worked for him. But Spera
He's got
thought,
a
man,
lipstick tattoo on his face. He can do whatever the fuck he wants. He's a terrifying individual.
yeah, first time he's ever been finished, man. But it just goes to show it's like it's a different level. Once you get up to those top guys and those ranked guys, it's you're fighting a different level of
It's
human, man.
it's not even different rules, right? If you don't understand how important Neil Magny is to the MMA game, go rewatch Neil Magny versus Hector Lombard. It is one of the all-time best MMA fights that you will never ever see up on best MMA fights or best MMA combat lists ever, because the people that do these things are idiots.
That would be a
They do
great
them all the
episode.
time.
That would be a great episode for a special, by the way, as we talk about all the greatest fights that no one ever talks about.
Oh, it'd be so much homework though.
I know that's the thing. We'd have to, and it would have to be so
That,
detailed because deliberately the ones that come to mind are the ones that we couldn't talk about.
yeah, pretty much.
But no, it's nice. I'm glad to see Neil Magny win. And most welterweight wins in the UFC. That's no small feat when you think about some of the great fighters that have fought at welterweight. That's GSP.
He's got to be closing on 30 fights, right? Not wins,
man.
but fights.
At least 30 fights. I mean, he's got what, 17, 18 wins?
I'm a big fan.
It's
even when he fights shit, I like him.
No, he's a cool dude, man. And he always calls out, you know what? He never looks for easy fights. I mean, he campaigned hard to fight Hamza. He said yes to fighting Shavkat when no one wants to fight Shavkat. I'm not saying that he would have won the Hamza fight, and obviously he didn't win the Shavkat fight, but he's putting himself in there every single time.
Who would I like to see him fight next? What's Kutata Ladze? 155 or 170? I'm spacing on it right now.
155. I'd have to have a proper think about that, and we got a lot to get through. We got this one right. Shah Yalan, quick work of Derek Minner.
Yeah. So the most interesting thing I read about this one is James Krause trying to shift betting lines. I could give a fuck. This, it was unfortunate. He got hit. He got hurt. I didn't really give him too much of a chance in this one. And Nuadam Bieke fucked it up again. But I got the pick right. I ran through him. Beautiful.
Yeah, we didn't do too bad. So we only went, you and I both went. You did very well on the main card. You went 4 or 5, I think. I went 3 or 5 on the main card, but I did better on the prelims.
Who did I get wrong on the? Oh, wait, I got No, who did I get wrong on the main card? Oh,
we both picked Marie. We both picked Mahina.
Yeah.
I picked Nate Maness. I put a caveat in my pick for Nate Maness that if he missed weight, I could switch to Ilanbekov. Not only did Maness not miss weight, but the motherfucker didn't win the fight. He didn't even look competitive in the fight. So
KGD did.
KGD looked fucking great. Absolutely fucking great. And it seems so simple when you say it, but it's just like, hey, Greco-Roman. What has the Greco-Roman wrestler not got great experience with? People going at your legs. What am I excellent at? Getting people by the legs and getting them down.
Yeah.
Where am I better
at? What do old people not like? Anything.
Tell you what, though, Mark rocked him in that first round.
Mark beat his fucking ass every round. I feel bad for Mark Madsen. I say Mark. Grant kicked his ass every round. Marco Madsen. I would love to know more about the man's story. Feels like he's been through a lot. Seems like a cool guy. I think he should carry on fighting, training, doing his thing.
We
You
were
know, it
pretty
is what it
harsh.
is.
We were pretty harsh
It's
last week.
amazing this is his first loss.
Yeah, we were very harsh to him last week, maybe undeservedly so. And we weren't wrong,
Oh,
but
did
maybe
you
a
not watch
bit.
the fight? I watched the fight.
I did watch the fight. Um,
Yeah, I don't think we
okay,
were undeserving.
prelims, I fucking smashed. I went undefeated, got every pick right on the prelims, starting with Miranda Maverick, who bit of trouble early
Did
on.
you write my prelims, by the way?
Yes, I know that we were
Oh,
pretty
thank
much.
fuck.
So it's, I mean, the thing is that we were only 2 fights different on the whole card. So you picked Ulanbekov over Manus, and you got that one right. I picked Poliana Viana, and you picked Jinyu Fry, and I got that right. Every other
Why
one
did
we
I
were
pick?
correct on.
All right. How many other fights were there without making check?
There were 6 fights in total on the prelims. Miranda Maverick headlined the prelims after they dumped off the heavyweights. Oh, we didn't talk about this. They listened to us, Josh. They watched our podcast. 20 people watched last week's episode, but one of those fucking 20 people works for the UFC because Parisian versus, I don't even give a fuck who he's fighting.
The
Fight got
vanilla
cancelled,
gorilla chase Sherman.
got called off for quote unquote health reasons. But I think we really know what's going on. They looked at it and were just like, we can't. We can't have this be another shitty fight that
They were like,
just.
this isn't the biggest fight of the year. We got some decent fights here. Why the fuck would we spend $5,000 between these two guys with the win bonus?
Yeah, I couldn't agree
I'm
more. And the
kidding.
card,
They make more than that. They deserve to make more than that. I've gone on
either way,
record and I'll say it again. As far as I'm concerned, the only overpaid UFC fighter to ever exist was John Volante.
and maybe Conor McGregor, but that's neither here nor there. Miranda Maverick.
Well, he did make, as much as I hate the scumbag, he did make that bitch worth 4 billion.
Okay, I'll
Not
give you that.
single-handedly, but I'd say he did about 3.8 of that.
Well,
Forrest Griffin and Stephen Bonner did most of the rest.
they started it. They lit the flame. Conor just came along with a big tank of gasoline. Back to the fights. Miranda Maverick beats Shana Young, pretty one-sided, 30-26s on a couple of judges' scorecards. I like Miranda. She's striking needs a lot of work. Looks very stiff and wooden on her feet. You can tell it's not her natural kind of skill set, but the wrestling is there. That's the key element. The rest she can improve on. Mario Batista made Benito Lopez look like he didn't belong, which he didn't. Beat him pretty quickly.
Because I missed these prelims. Benito Lopez come out with that stupid 2 times Scarboy haircut again.
Yeah, his hair was stupid. It wasn't as stupid as it's been in the past, but he still looked like a dick.
Even O'Malley barely gets away with it. What are you thinking?
Yeah, and you kind of really need to like be winning to get away with that shit. You know what I mean? People accept it when you're putting numbers up.
Disappointing. All right, moving forward.
Poliana Viana ran through Jinyu Fry, very impressive knockout. The funny thing with her post-fight speech, the translator, Brazilian translator, the old guy, kind of put his arm sort of around her shoulder. Clearly they know each other, but he accidentally touched her boob and she had to kind of like grab his hand and then hold his hand for the rest of it. But it was quite funny. Nobody talks about it, but I noticed it and it made me chuckle.
Good for her. Fuck that guy.
No, it seemed very sweet though. It didn't seem like he was like doing a boob grab. It seemed like it was just like he's put the arm around, accidentally touched the boob, and she's kind of immediately noticed and just very surreptitiously sort of grabbed his hand.
Liberally leaves a gracious amount of space because he sees the Matrix. he understands how much a sexual assault lawsuit settlement costs. Smart guy.
Okay. Uh, Johnny Muniz beat Sholinian. This wasn't a bad fight, but Johnny beat him, I thought, pretty much in every round. Just outworked him, outgrappled him, hurt him in a couple of times.
One guy is an
Impressive,
MMA fighter with a wrestling base. The other guy is just tough.
pretty much. Jake Hadley gets his UFC win. Uh, it was a good fight. This was a good fight. Probably the most even fight on the prelims. But Hadley, second round on, looked really good. And the submission was nice. I mean, it was one of those triangles where he had him in the triangle, but it wasn't quite tight enough for him to immediately tap. It was just like a minute and a half of him locked in this triangle, eating sharp elbows to the top of his head, desperately trying to hang on as Hadley's just like making an adjustment. It gets tighter. Making an adjustment.
If you
it
ain't
gets tighter.
tapped to Brexit, you're tapped to the 5-hour queue at Dover. Go on, England.
Your mind today is just fantastic. And Tamirez Vidal, this was a really good knockout. Gets a flying double knee knockout, body shot knee to the liver. So she
Dan Hooker, pay attention.
And the way that she set this up was so nice because she went for a jumping single knee from the clinch, which she didn't land to the head. Okay, separates the distance, then goes for that same single knee to the body, but then switches it to a double knee and lands it to the liver. And just immediate, like Pascal was done. Absolutely.
I actually have these downloaded, and I have every intention of watching them this evening. I was watching them this morning and I fell asleep and I ran out of time, so I said to keep plowing on. But I'm going back to these.
This was a fun card. Nice, some
I'm
good
embarrassed
finish.
I fell asleep during the first one. Woke up during maybe 3 or 4. Thanks,
Only thing
doctors.
I'd say, I wouldn't say there was a lot of close fights. Prelims were a little one-sided, but you certainly saw some good performances. To be honest, in fact, the whole card was pretty one-sided. You know, this wasn't like you're seeing good fights card. This was you're seeing some really good performances from some talented people that are making statements.
And some up and comers and some mainstays. Mark Madsen was also there, so had a bit of.
There you go.
Not everything, but had 3 things.
The big names of this weekend. That's the one. I mean, that's the one they've saved all the picks for, and that will be discussed. That will be discussed in a different podcast. So do not worry. We are getting to UFC 281, but with all of that out of the way, pretty much all of the UFC stuff. Do you want to talk a little bit of NFL? Because right now, Josh's precious Eagles are flying high undefeated. Jalen Hurts, people are whispering, fluttering MVP conversations. You're looking at the rest of the schedule. People are talking about an undefeated season the way that the schedule's going. There's only one game.
We had a very easy start to the season, which was actually the harder half of our season. So, assuming that the Giants suck as bad as everyone assumes the Giants suck, and they fucking do. Assuming that Dak Prescott means fuck all, which, you know, kind of see every now and again he runs hot and cold. I could very much see us finishing this year with maybe 2 losses, which will, with the tiebreaker over the Vikings, will secure us first round playoff bye, then a home game. I would fucking love it if we made the Super Bowl, bro. But as for MVP conversations, I think Patrick Mahomes has got it. I think Josh Allen bounces back. I think your boy Tua, if he stays healthy, and gets second or first place in the AFC East, has a conversation to be made. But the important thing is with the Eagles is we are not a one-player team. We are deep at every position except safety, where we have 1.5 players. But other than that, we're deep at every fucking position. It's a great time to be an Eagle.
Well, the Dolphins are back on track. 6-3, won our last three in a row, undefeated if Tua starts and finishes a game. It very much talking about win
And
plenty.
the Bills are at 6-2, right?
So yeah, just lost to the Jets, and Josh Allen injured his hand.
And Jets also 6-2
Six and
was
three, 6-3,
6-3.
and
So
Patriots are 5-4. So the two conversations I want to have, because even though this is an NFL chat, it's really a Dolphins and Eagles chat because that's the teams that we support. But AFC East and NFC East right now, okay, your division has got you as an undefeated team, the two other teams with 6 wins on the season and both with winning records, and the Washington Commanders with a 4-5 records, very,
well,
very
we don't
close.
know where they're going to be. That they could bounce back. They don't have an awful team. They got Scary Terry.
But
I'm not necessarily looking at them. They're like they're a fucking joke.
let
I
me
don't
make
look at
my
any of our
let me
divisional
Josh, let
games like
me
that automatic. But
so let me
sorry,
just
go on.
make my point. Sorry, just to make my point because you'll understand. Okay, so three teams, all of at least 6 wins, and the other team is 4-5, which still isn't a bad record. You're still in the hunt for playoff positions. AFC East, Dolphins division, Bills 6-2, Jets, Dolphins both 6-3, and then Patriots 5-4. Every single team in our division with a winning record. I think it's pretty obvious that both of our teams are in the two best divisions in football right now. I don't think that's up for debate.
Ish, because it is still early days, and our division in particular has, I think, the NFC North and the AFC South, who are all dragging ass. So we all have an easier schedule. Your division, yeah, arguably. I think there are other divisions that are looking not too fucking bad. And frankly, with how much parity there is between kind of like the bottom, kind of going up from the bottom third to sort of the top like 5-10%. There's some fucking parity there. It'd be interesting to see. Let's not forget, Eli Manning has 2 Super Bowl rings playing for teams that fucking sucked ass. And let's face it, he never really played on a good team. Two of the teams he
That's not
won
true.
rings with
That's not
would
true.
probably rate as top 5 worst fucking teams he played for.
That's not true. That when he played for the Denver Broncos,
It's
the
very
first season.
true. The Giants. Wait. Sorry, what did you say?
Oh, you said Eli Manning. Sorry, not Peyton Manning.
I said Eli
Sorry.
Manning.
Sorry, I thought you said Peyton Manning. I
Yeah.
thought you said Peyton
Name
Manning.
one good Giants team Eli Manning ever played for.
Not
And
Manning, no. But the great Giants team
and you're gonna have a
were under
hard time
Bill.
picking either of those Super Bowl teams because they fucking sucked.
Here's where your argument goes out, though. The Bill Parcells Giants teams were legendary.
What with
If you
fucking
go,
LT and shit? Eli wasn't even like a fucking seed in a sack back then. Maybe he was, maybe he wasn't. I don't care.
I'm just saying that the Giants are a historic team. I know they're your big rivals, but
They're a
I'm not
historic
saying they're
team, but
good now.
Eli Manning played for like, I mean, he played like 15 years.
Never got
And over
injured.
those 15 years, like
Two
what,
Super Bowls.
13 of those seasons, they fucking sucked. And 2 of those seasons, they won Super Bowl teams were probably in their top 5 suckiest fucking teams ever. Doesn't matter.
Dude,
You get to the playoffs, it doesn't matter.
your one Super Bowl you won with a guy who only looked good for 6 games in his career.
Because he has the biggest dick in the world.
Well, maybe Eli Manning's got a fucking 3-foot dick, and that 3-foot
I
dick came
doubt
to
it.
play for 2 Super Bowls.
Don't believe it.
You must enjoy a little
Eli
bit, though.
Manning had one thing going for him. Eli Manning gave such little of a shit that come fourth quarter, when everyone else is tired, everyone else is jacked up, they're all wired on adrenaline. Eli Manning could come in and make fourth quarter comebacks because he was just like, give a fuck. And that was the one thing Eli Manning was good at.
Well,
Don't like talking about Giants players, truth be told. Let's
yeah,
talk
but
about the Dolphins.
well, can I just say this point about Eli Manning? We all need to be thanking him because you realize that if it wasn't for Eli Manning, Tom Brady's would be going for his fucking 10th Super Bowl this season. Do you really want to live in a
And give a
world?
fuck. He didn't play for the Eagles. Who gives a shit?
Do you really want to live in a world where TB12 is actually becomes TB9, going to become TB10?
Everyone knows Donovan McNabb was better.
I agree with you because I don't like the Patriots, but that's neither here nor there. The Dolphins, we are winning shootouts now, man, and it's stressful. It's really stressful because I have to watch Arsenal on a Sunday because they're in the Europa League. So all of their fucking league games have been on a Sunday. And then immediately afterwards, I have to watch the Dolphins. And both of these teams, for the first time in my lifetime, are going for like, and actually look like they might be able to do something fun and do something cool. But it means that the
You
expectation and the
say
pressure's
that
there.
the Invincibles were in your lifetime.
Yeah, but the Dolphins weren't good at the same time. I've never had both teams succeeding at the same time. It's a lot of stress, and I've never had them both succeeding and constantly playing on the same day. And it's all great so far. Arsenal, top of the league. It's fucking brilliant. I love it. I'm having a great time. We just beat Chelsea. It's the best thing ever. I can't believe how good it is. It'd just be nice if I can not have to watch like a
Chelsea is
stress.
fun.
Yeah, they were so shit as well, mate. But it's still stressful. I mean, I hate Chelsea more than I love Arsenal. I fucking hate
We're
Chelsea
like
so
legit
much.
their bogey team. Like I genuinely get excited to play Chelsea.
Mate, talking about having mini heart attacks, watching Bournemouth. I mean, we'll go back to the NFL in a sec, but I just want to talk about this. Bournemouth, that must have given you a fucking aneurysm.
Well, that's 2 weeks in a row we've done that. So, uh, frustrating, unfortunate. Ultimately, brighter times are ahead. Like early days, I'm not gonna overthink it. We've not had a bad start. Could very well stay up. We're investing the money where we need to be. Got bought by a billionaire. It's all looking all right. Crucially, despite the two blown 2 goal cushions, it's not games people were really thinking we were going to win. It's games that we were winning in. It's games where we looked well. We were playing good. You got to remember, I grew up going to Tuesday night Johnson Payne trophy games and getting us watched played off the park by fucking Yeovil or some ragtag outfit. Very different life. I can live like this.
That's a very mature, healthy way to look at it. Um, Going back to the Dolphins having to win shootouts every single week, we're down to our fifth, sixth, and seventh choice cornerbacks. I mean, our defense, our secondary is fucked, dude. Every single quarterback that plays us is having the best game of their season against us. Justin Fields, and to be fair to Tua, I'm not saying that he's the best quarterback in the league, but he's playing in that top five fucking group because he's had to deal and beat Lamar Jackson having one of his best ever games in his career. Beat him in that game. Played Josh Allen, who statistically had one of the best games of his career. Beat him. Played Jared Goff, who had one of the best statistical games of his career. Beat him. And now he's playing, just beat Justin Fields, who ran for 178 yards, rushing touchdown, 3 passing touchdowns, over 100 yards passing in the air. And Tua is still fucking winning these shootouts, man. And it's not through like this flashy, massive 60-yard throws. It's just through precision, quick decision making, putting it exactly where the receiver needs it, throwing guys off with his eyes, no look passes. It's like watching a young Drew Brees, man. It's fucking brilliant. It's enjoyable to watch when we're attacking. It's just very stressful because I spent the last 3 years watching a defense that you could basically trust to bail out the offense playing like garbage. And literally in one season, it's complete, and
Well,
9 injuries. It's
how
completely
much cap
switched around.
space you got?
Well, this is the
Going
thing.
into next year, I mean.
We signed a lot of stars. So next season, we haven't got a first-round draft pick because we traded for Bradley Chubb and gave him a big contract. We're probably going to lose Gazicki because we're not going to re-sign him. It's going to be too much money. And like the big thing for us right now is we've lost our slot corner for the season with an ACL. Our safety, he was an absolute beast for us with an ACL. Our number two cornerback has been out all season with an injury. Our number one cornerback is playing injured. And then we also lost our number 4 and 5 cornerbacks throughout the season. So the problem is that it's very hard to judge, where.
Okay, but are you carrying a lot of dead money going into next year? You obviously don't have to pay out a first round contract.
We're not making big signings, putting it that way. We might be able to cut Byron Jones or trade him.
Dude, if you got like a young Drew Brees, all you really need is a semi decent to good O line, receivers with hands and nothing else, and a bend don't break defense that can create the occasional turnover or is savvy enough to draw penalties and create third down stops. It's just that classic Belichick model. It's just not, you don't have to overthink it.
Yeah, well, that's what it's meant. The idea of our defense is built on the idea that we have elite players in the secondary. And so we can play a lot of aggressive man coverage and blitzes and get away with it because we can trust that the cornerbacks can cover all of the key receivers for long enough. The difficulty with that is that whenever we're playing rushing quarterbacks, they're just destroying us in man coverage. And because we're blitzing a lot, that's leaving a lot of easy open passes for quarterbacks to be able to find. So I think long term,
I'm surprised you see a lot of quarterbacks from Russia in the NFL.
What's that? Sorry.
That's weird. I didn't think that was that many Ruskies, that many Russian quarterbacks in the NFL.
Well, there's a few, and the problem is the ones that we've played where they're not rushers, they've usually had pretty good O lines. So even when you're blitzing, you're not getting there. We haven't been able to get there quick enough.
Justin Fielderov, Jalen Hurtsky.
You've got a few, man. You've also got,
Josh Allen,
Josh Allen. I'd say Patrick Mahomes. You've got obviously Kyler Murray.
You didn't make that one Russian.
Well, because I'm not going with the Ruski thing.
Patrick Mahomes, check. It's so easy, and you're just.
It's not easy. You're just adding an extra like 3/4 of a name at the end of it.
I made them Russian.
Well, technically, if it's a quarterback doing it, they're called scrambling quarterbacks. So unless you want to go with like an egg theme for all of their names.
Like Fran Tarkentonski.
Okay, you really want to stick with the Russian thing. It's
Look,
a bit of a topical subject right now.
Me take it. Not even really my fault. We should have started the big show days ago.
Yeah, but then it's always good to do it that week. It's that kind of thing where we want to get it out early enough to actually have people watch it and listen to it. But obviously, the earlier we do it,
that's all on you today, pal. I ain't stressing about that shit too.
Yeah, but I'm not on Valium. You have the luxury of not being able to feel stress. I still exist with nothing more than large amounts of weed to deal with my stress.
Is I was about to say, like, I still feel stressed, but the truth is that I'm just dealing with things, but I'm a lot more proactive than I don't think that like Valium was the answer, but I think sleeping and just being proactive and taking plans has been very positive. What I would say is that Valium has not made podcasting any easier.
What does Valium
already looking at the picks and thinking, other than Kyler Esparza, I don't know if I got any of these locked in.
Well, that's got nothing to do with Valium. That's just the fact that it's a hard card to pick fights for. Although I'm of the opinion when
picks itself, what are the rest of them saying?
I think it's going to be a lot of one-sided fights in those. Last thing on the NFL, who do the Eagles play this weekend?
I think the Commanders on Monday night. But considering I'm going to be, I've got the time off. I'm hopefully going to try and stay out for. Didn't work out for the Texans game. I fell asleep at 1 our time, which is when the game kicked off, and Otis was sick. So I woke up at about 10 past 4, just in time to watch the players walk off the field.
Uh,
Although, what's the highlights? Not a bad game, not a great game. We march on forward. Two
yeah,
game middle of the division. That's all I care about right now.
well, with you guys playing on Monday night and me having already been touched down in Thailand for 2 days by the time that game starts, that's actually watchable for me. That will be in the morning, Tuesday morning in Thailand. So I can actually watch your game at a very reasonable time.
Hopefully, it's an absolute bloodbath.
We shall see. Dolphins play the Browns at home. Miles Garrett will be in my nightmares all week. He's basically the only thing I'm worried about. I'm not worried about Jacoby Brissett. It's him and the other Chubb. We've got Bradley Chubb. Nick Chubb is on the Browns, and he's a problem. He's a big fucking problem. Yeah, it's going to be a Chubb off. We win that 7-3. We have a bye week, and then it's the Texans at home, which you have to think that we're going to win. And then you're 8-3, and really playoffs, you just need to go 3-3 down the stretch. So I'm a couple of games away from being okay with maybe the team losing the odd game here and there. We just need to keep winning these winnable games. And maybe it might be a very good season. Although I don't think we win in the playoffs.
Dude, no one gives a fuck. It's all about like getting a playoff experience with a young team and just fucking making shit happen.
It's like the top four in English football, mate. 3 of those teams know there's not a fucking hope of them winning the Champions League. They still just want to be in the conversation.
No. It's so much shorter. It's so much shorter. The average career is so much shorter. For so many of them, it's just training camp, done. Or it's training camp, play hard, done. And then there are the other ones, they realize what it takes to win a game. There are those that realize what it takes to win a season. And there are those that realize what it takes to win playoff games and how easy it is to put yourself in a position to be great. And I say it like it's nothing. It's such a select few. And you need to have the right blend. You need the people that buy in. You need the coaching staff. But yeah, man, getting to the playoffs is everything. It's all that matters. Ask Eli Manning.
And on that note, I think it's time for us to sign off on another episode of the Loose MMA podcast, so we can do a slightly more structured MMA pick show for UFC 281.
Yeah, good luck with that.
Well, we will do our best. Although, if there are any more Josh Valium Shakespearean soliloquies, we will certainly wait out and look forward to them.
Soliloquy now. Give me that fancy shit. I just said some smart stuff, as you do.
Nobody can hold that against you. Guys, thanks for listening. Exactly. If you made it this far, like the content if you're enjoying it. If you made it this far in the video and you're not enjoying the content, thanks anyway. Nice. And we'll catch you on the next one. Bye, Dave. Bye, Laura. Bye, Tarifa.
I know the only reason you didn't enjoy the content is you didn't see our faces, but it's coming. Bye, Laurie. Bye, Dave.